Ever noticed how the sleek Datejusts often outnumber the much-chased sports models at your local Rolex dealer? It's no coincidence. It's all part of the Rolex 70-30 rule. Join us in our latest video as we delve into this intriguing strategy that might just hold the key to securing your next Rolex gem. Our authorized dealers do more than sell watches. They guide you into a world of luxury, curating a collection that's not just about making a purchase, but creating a part of your legacy. They're there to ensure that your choice of watch feels less like a transaction and more like the start of a storied chapter in your life. Here's the thing. For every 70 Oyster Perpetuals that grace a wrist, only 30 of the sportier siblings get to crash the party. And apparently it's a detailed official protocol that keeps the Rolex world ticking right along. Rolex dealers aren't just picked out of a hat. They're top of the line, chosen to maintain the brand's luster and allure. With a dip in secondary market prices, these sought-after pieces are slowly transforming from quick flips to long-term loves, granting more wrist time for those who value the craft over the cash. Rolex keeps its authorized dealers in a tight-knit circle to preserve that signature blend of exclusivity and top-tier quality. So if you're hunting for one of these legendary timepieces, you'll need to head straight to a certified Rolex jeweler or one of those elite jewelry stores. Now, getting into Rolex's inner circle isn't exactly a casual invite. Retailers have to jump through some serious hoops, and one slip-up could mean a swift goodbye. But don't worry, if one shop flubs it, it won't rock the whole boat. Rolex is pretty clever about keeping their contracts airtight. That said, Rolex is more than just a way to keep time. It's a worldwide status symbol of success and sophistication. But let's bust a myth or two. As Rolex tightens its retail circle, it is a strategic power move that's made their watches even more irresistible. With this clever shift, the exclusivity and allure of Rolex have only skyrocketed, along with their market value. Let's be real, wearing a Rolex is about announcing you've officially made it, with a side of financial swagger. Let's break it down. Rolex and its authorized dealers have a bit of an interesting dance when it comes to handling stock for their in-demand watches. Dealers, they don't exactly call the shots. Rolex decides what's sent their way each year, so there's no order what you want situation here. Now, if you're thinking that getting on the waiting list at your local dealer is your golden ticket to a shiny new Rolex, think again. Your spot on that list might not just depend on how early you sign up, it could have more to do with how much the dealer values you. If you've been a big spender before, well, your name might magically rise a little quicker. It's kind of like frequent flyer miles, but instead of upgrading to first class, you're upgrading your chances for a luxury timepiece. But when will that dream watch finally land on your wrist? That's anyone's guess. Probably about as predictable as next year's weather forecast. Rolex has its own timeline, and trust me, they're not rushing for anyone. Before we keep going, why not subscribe and join the opulent Oasis team? Get the inside scoop on our best content. Now back to the good stuff. For dealers, getting their yearly shipment from Rolex is a bit like opening a surprise gift from a mysterious relative. Could be something you wanted or something completely unexpected. They place their orders, sure, but they don't really know what's coming until those boxes are cracked open. So if you ask your dealer about the next batch of watches and they give you a vague answer, don't blame them. They're just as in the dark as you are. Honestly, it adds a bit of excitement to the process. Who doesn't love a good mystery? What makes it even more fun, or nerve-wracking, depending on your perspective, is that Rolex doesn't tell the dealers who's getting what until the watches are already shipped. It's like a surprise party. Except the guest list is a secret until the last minute, and the gifts are Rolex's. Not a bad surprise, if you ask me. Now, when it comes to stocking these luxury beauties, dealers are pretty much at the mercy of Rolex. There are no guarantees that every order will be fulfilled, and the dealers just have to roll with whatever Rolex sends them. If you're hoping to call ahead and pin down a specific model, well, you're probably out of luck. And if the dealer had their eye on something special that never arrives, that request just quietly disappears like a missed text. It's out there, but no one's bringing it up again. Meanwhile, if you're watching the secondary market, you might catch a dip in prices every now and then. But honestly, it's a bit like betting on a long shot at the racetrack. Nothing's guaranteed, but it's part of the thrill, right? At the end of the day, The Rolex game is part patience, part strategy, and a whole lot of exclusivity. And isn't that half the fun? Now, the hype around flipping Rolex watches for quick cash is definitely losing its edge. These days, more people are buying Rolex watches because they actually admire the craftsmanship rather than just hoping for a fast payout. With fewer flippers in the game, these luxury timepieces are landing on the wrists of folks who appreciate them for their real value, not just the resale price tag. So how does Rolex keep such a tight grip on distribution? One major move is enforcing the manufacturer's suggested retail price, MSRP. Dealers have to stick to that price, no wiggle room. It keeps everything consistent and preserves that air of exclusivity across all shops. And if a dealer starts thinking about sneaking in a price bump, well, that's a quick way to end their relationship with Rolex. No one wants to be the dealer that gets kicked out of the Rolex Club. That's a membership you don't want to lose. Plus, Rolex doesn't mess around when it comes to how dealers handle their inventory. They expect a specific lineup of watches to be on display year-round, hand-picked during those meetings with the Rolex reps. Sticking to this curated selection isn't a friendly suggestion. It's a hard rule if you want to keep that prized, authorized Rolex dealer status. And here's where it gets interesting. Rolex doesn't just take your word for it. They have the right to swing by for surprise inspections whenever they want. They'll dive into sales and warranty records and even do a full inventory check to make sure those rare, high-demand models haven't mysteriously vanished. It's like a luxury watch audit, and of course it sparks plenty of chatter among folks who think the watch world is full of secrets. But hey, that's just how Rolex runs the show, total control, no cutting corners. Rolex definitely calls the shots when it comes to the watches they send to dealers. If a dealer thinks about closing shop, stepping away from Rolex, or even hits a financial snag, they can't just sell off their stock to anyone. Rolex has strict rules to keep those watches from flooding the secondary market. Try to sneak around it. The dealer ends up paying full price, and Rolex can swoop in and buy them back. Basically, Rolex holds all the power. They can cut ties if a dealer gets involved in the grey market, doesn't hit sales targets, or decides to change things up. It's like tough love, but that's how Rolex keeps their prestige in check. Navigating these rules for dealers is like walking a tightrope, but hey, that's the cost of doing business with the king of luxury watches. While brands like Audemars Piguet and Patek Philippe have their own strict controls, Rolex pretty much wrote the book on keeping a tight grip. Now let's unpack the somewhat mythical 70-30 rule. It's like the Bigfoot of Rolex policies, never officially confirmed, but often blamed for why those elusive sports models are as hard to find as a quiet day on the internet. If this rule really exists, it's a clever way for Rolex to keep the scales balanced, making both dealers and collectors play nice in the sandbox. So as we wrap up our tour of Rolex's dealer labyrinth, hopefully we've demystified some of their cloak and dagger tactics. What's your take? Spin us a line in the comments, hit that thumbs up if you found this enlightening, and don't forget to subscribe for more decoded mysteries. Thanks for hanging with us at Opulent Oasis. Catch you on the flip side.